What's up, guys? Welcome back to Ally in Hand, and this time we're taking a look at Ghost of Tsushima here on Steam on the ROG Ally. This just came out at the time of making this video, and it's definitely a Sony title we've been looking forward to. We have a lot of various settings to take a look at here, so let's go ahead and get into it. Settings-wise, the game's pretty easy when it comes to options. We have display here for our full screen, our resolution, which will be 1080p. We'll also take a quick look at some 720. AMD FSR 3.0, which is nice to see. We'll have quality, bounced, and performance in here with mostly bounced, and we have frame gen in-game, which is awesome to see, and it works really well here in this game, at least so far, so we'll check that out. Medium presets, mostly what we'll stick with motion blur off and bloom and vignette off, but we'll take a look at a couple of different things as well. Now, when it comes to the FSR 3 upscaling at 20 watts here, 4 gigs of VRAM, quality sitting in this spot, 43, 44, 45 FPS, something like that, bouncing around. Going to balanced, you'll gain 2 or 3, might be something typical that you would see in most games, and then going to performance, you'll gain a few more, maybe 50, 52, but in certain scenes, this is going to look pretty rough. And for me, pretty much just going with FSR 3 balance seems to be what works best for me, especially at 1080p here for this game. Now, as far as settings goes, the medium preset's been working pretty well, what I showed in the beginning of the video, but what's great is this game is really easy to swap your graphic settings around while you're in game. It'll do this right in front of you live. I haven't had any crashes or problems with it yet, and it seems to work really good. Going to high, though, is certainly going to drop down if you were trying to pull some more graphic fidelity out of this, and even if you up your wattage, when you get to some busy areas, it is going to get pretty rough. Something like very high is also not going to be something you're going to do here on the Ally, but I just jumped in there to see what it was doing, and just sitting still here in this scene, it's down in the 20s, but hey, I just wanted to take a look. And then low, of course, if you didn't want to go down to 720p or use frame gen or anything, and you wanted to get some more performance, you might want to go with something like low, but medium for me was working out pretty well when it came to just testing overall performance of the game here. Now, a lot of this will be at 20 watts, which seems to work really well here on the Z1 Extreme for this game and a lot of different games I test. If you do go to 30 watts, you can gain a little bit of performance with or without frame gen, and no matter what the settings are really, but it's not a lot. And if you're wanting to do decent on your battery, 20 watts seem to be a really good sweet spot for me here on this game. But 20, 25, 30, all are fine. Go below 20 though, and you will start dipping in performance when it gets really busy in certain areas. A lot of this game runs in 30s or 40s depending on where I'm at with these particular settings up on the screen here. 1080p, medium preset, FSR 3 balance, 20 watts, 4 gigs of VRAM. We have in-game frame gen, which works really well in this game, even for the frame times and everything and the overall feel of the game. It works quite well, and we'll take a closer look at that. Now, in combat here without frame gen at 1080p with my normal settings running here, again, 30s or 40s when I'm moving around in game, in combat. I'm sure different areas are going to certainly run different depending on where we go. I've got about 4 hours or so into this game right now. Switching to 720p in the same area though, of course, is going to bring you up on that FPS a little bit and probably feel a little bit snappier than what that 38, 39 FPS was feeling like. And it'll look great on the 7-inch screen as well, but it's all going to depend on what you're wanting to pull out of the game. Now, if we take a look at 720p next to 1080p in the beginning of the game where you're kind of running down, it's really busy down on the beachhead and stuff here. You can see where the difference lies in the resolution and where you might want to get better frame times and pull some more performance out of the game. 720p or maybe even 900p, but especially the 720p with still using that FSR seemed to work pretty well and felt pretty smooth if you want to pull some more out of that. And that's in or out of combat or moving around the world, at least so far in my time with the game. But certainly a lot of headroom, a lot of like stuff you can do here to run the game however you prefer. A lot of people don't care about frame rate, they care about fidelity. Some people care more about battery and all of that. Now with frame gen though, the game feels and looks really smooth. It feels great. It works really well here, and we get a lot more performance in FPS, especially even at the 30 watts. It does really well. So I was kind of showing best case here at my 1080p medium preset settings with frame gen and with 30 watts here, and it was really clean and felt great. And yeah, I really like using frame gen in this title, the in-game frame generation for AMD here. Even at 20 watts, which is what I prefer here for this game, the frame gen works really, really well, and it's much better than what I would be like 38, 39 or so around here in combat. So yeah, frame generation, 1080p, medium preset, FSR 3 balance, 20 watts, 4 gigs of VRAM. I mean, for a lot of the game where I'm running around, this is working out really well. And same settings here in a different area where it's not as busy, and even higher FPS, clean frame times, and the latency really isn't bad at all. It feels good here with the frame gen. So they did a decent job implementing this, and there's a lot of ways you can run this game. Again, if you want to prioritize battery or frame rate or fidelity, there's a lot you can do here, especially when we have the perks like AMD FSR3 and frame generation. All right, guys, thanks a lot for coming to check out the video. As always, we really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.